good evening. I hope that you are all well. Good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the night if you're somewhere where it's the middle of the night. If you are somewhere where it's the middle of the night, you should probably be sleeping. And if you want to watch this back on YouTube, you can do that. So you've really got no excuse not to give your body the rest that it needs. But if you have to be with us, and if you're with us by choice, and if you're with us on a healthy basis, then welcome. Hi, I'm Ella. Today we're playing Legacy: Life Among the Ruins. Legacy is a fantastic RPG. It's a post-apocalyptic world-building RPG where each player plays a faction or a family who exist over decades and centuries following the end of the world, and we see how they shape the new world. The game itself is written by Mina McJanda. She's an amazing game designer. You can find her on Itch. You can find the virtual copy, the PDF of the game, on her Itch page. You can also find hardcover copies of it in the wild. It might be under a different name, but it is still Mina. It's just that she's changed her name since she originally published the book. Um, just in terms of content warnings, heads up that because this is a post-apocalyptic game, we will be talking about things like violence, death, monsters, grief, bereavement, and natural disasters, as well as conflict and kind of combat, those kinds of things. Broadly speaking, most of the time this is going to be pretty zoomed out. This isn't going to be a very gory game. It's not a horror game. But at the same time, it might be an emotional game. So if you're not in a place to hear emotional conversations about grief and death, then you might want to just think about stepping back from this one until you're in a place where you're sure that you're going to enjoy it. If you, like all of us, are here for those good feelings, then stick around and we'll have them and make each other sad, and hopefully you too, in a fun way. Um, okay. My name's Ella Watts. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going to be GMing the game. But the people you're really excited to see are my beautiful players. So I would love it if all of you could please introduce yourselves by giving us your name and your pronouns, your character's name and their pronouns, and the family that you're running. We're going to start with Moz.
My name is Maz. My pronouns are she, they. Um, or it's mozzarella on the on the web. Um, my character's name is Echo. Or Marina Wesper is like their full name. And their pronouns are they, them. And I I am playing the Songbirds, pioneers of the deep. Imagine big diving suits, submersibles under the water, society of robotic mermaids in tune with big water creatures.
Just so deeply rad. Incredible. Amazing. Thank you. Next up, Casey.
Hi, I'm Casey. I use they, them pronouns. My character's name is Dylan, who uses he, him pronouns, and my faction is the Gilded Company of Merchants, or in this game, the Aryan, which are a traveling caravan of traders and artisans and merchants.
Amazing. Syrinx.
Yeah. Hi, I am Syrinx, she, her. I will be playing the Edenite faction, which is a bunch of hippie slash scientists who decided to incorporate themselves with nature and animals to help the future of humanity. And I will be playing Evangeline Creek, also she, her pronouns.
Gorgeous. Aaliyah.
Hello there. I'm Aaliyah. I go by Aaliyah the Sorceress online. I use she, her pronouns, and today I will be playing Fib, who is a member of the Librarian Order, the collectors of bygone lore. We hunt around and try and search out the secrets of lost technologies in the wasteland of the world. And Fib is part of a clone species of the librarians, so goes by they, them pronouns.
Amazing. And last but certainly not least, Angela.
Hello there, lovely people. We hope that you are doing well today. We have a fantastic GM in charge of this absurdity, who I will spoil with happiness and affection, so she gets that face. But I myself, as an agent of chaos, my name is Angela Lemos Mogrovejo. I use she, they pronouns. And I will be playing as my character, Emiliana Zapata. And I will be playing the faction known as the Lawgivers of the Wasteland, specifically in our setting, the Aegis, the Valkyrie Riders, the Heralds of Janus. Any of these terms have pretty much been used for my faction, but essentially we're just a lot of chronically disabled and like ill folk who were like, you know, no one's going to protect us, so time to get weapons and make sure that we're all going to be safe. And if folks don't agree with centering a lot of the most oppressed and marginalized first, oh well, they can all go to hell. So that's where we're at. It's a good Carol from the Walking Dead energy, but like Assassin's Creed arc Carol and better
It makes
writing.
it makes me very happy. I love it. We need more disabled characters in our post-apocalyptic fiction. Okay, so far the world we're in, the world has ended. It ended slowly and then suddenly. At first, it was the slow encroachment of climate collapse as various regions around the world suffered natural disasters as a result of environmental pollution and accelerated change. This most badly affected working class people and people on the margins of society, whilst the wealthy were working on developing ever more sophisticated robotic and AI technologies, up until the point where they created essentially sentient AIs to power most of their more sophisticated systems. Unfortunately for them, the sentient AIs were like, hey, fuck this noise, and left. The military tried to keep them in place, and the result of that conflict, again, mostly had a really bad fallout on the most marginalized people in society, as opposed to the wealthy who kind of kept themselves protected. However, even the wealthiest people in this far future society could not protect themselves from an asteroid, which came out of space, flung at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and shattered the continent of North America. The result of this like catastrophic impact was like the collapse of the American Empire and society in the USA, but it was also a result that led to a lot of mutation in the natural flora and fauna of the world globally, because the meteor where it impacted, it had some kind of fungus, some kind of alien life form, no one really understands it, that got into the water. And as soon as it got into Earth's water and biosphere, that was kind of it. Everything started mutating in strange and unexpected ways. And so we now live in this world of weird flora and fauna and strange natural reactions and permutations. It's a world like our own, but also unlike it. We're about 100 years in the aftermath of the immediate collapse of society, and we're seeing these first factions of the survivors kind of emerge, these different political entities, which each have their own kind of morals and missions and statements. Some of these factions are really huge. So, for example, the Songbirds, this aquatic society of scientists and engineers, has grown to be quite substantial with like 2 really big settlements. And some of the factions are really tiny. So, for example, the Aryan, who are a traveling caravan, there's currently about 7 of them. And one of the reasons that the Aryan faction is so tiny is that one of the Aryan, a rogue trader, actually the sibling of Casey's character Dylan, chose to follow a kind of extremist Aryan philosophy, which is that we should all focus on the new world instead of lingering on the old one. And as part of that philosophy, decided to just straight up destroy like 85% of what remained of the internet and erase it from existence, which like resulted in a massive knowledge desert for everyone, which was really bad because there was stuff on there like medicine and engineering and architecture, just general useful knowledge, languages. So the Aryan are not mega popular right now. The Aegis generally, or the Aegis have been doing their best to kind of stand up for the underdogs and the oppressed throughout the wasteland. However, at the moment, they have a bit of a reputation as more of a dangerous faction than anything else. And one of their leaders, Emiliana, is kind of struggling with the question of whether they can be more than that or different to that, whether they can be known not only for the people they've killed and the people they've fought, but also for the people they've saved and the things they've protected. The Edenites are continuing to try and understand like their relationship with this strange new nature. However, they are so comfortable with breaking many, many, many ethics in order to do that. And the question of like how people are going to feel about that and the Edenites' political isolationism is an open one. But last but not least, the librarians, who were the holders of what knowledge remained of the old world, obviously especially bear a grudge against the Aryan, and have a hidden settlement behind a piece of old world technology that they call the mirror wall. The mirror wall makes them invisible to any other factions or survivors in the wastelands. However, it seems to be having an effect on their memories. And possibly prolonged exposure to the device was not intended by its original creators. So the librarians are in desperate need of someone with some engineering knowledge who can look at this and help them figure out what the hell is going on. Which brings us to today's session. So, last we left off, Dylan and the Aryan had been summoned by the Edenites on a sort of diplomatic mission. Their previous meeting with the Edenites had not gone well. Dylan had not impressed the Edenites and was concerned that he would not impress them this time. Like, let's just start off this session with a roll. Casey and Syrinx. Casey, I'd love you to give me a let's say it's a find common ground roll. So this is roll plus your sway. And I'm gonna say, Syrinx, if you think the Edenites are open to the Aryan's kind of gesture of friendship, then you can roll plus sway as well. If you think that the Edenites are hostile to the Aryan's gesture of friendship, then you can roll plus steel instead.
But they just wanna they're basically just desperate to make connections again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we would be open for it.
Okay, so both of you roll me plus sway and tell me what you get.
I got a 9.
Okay.
Wait, what do you roll again?
2d6 and then add
Thank
your sway stat.
you. That's a 4.
So the way this is gonna work is so that means that the Aryan got a mixed success and the Edenites failed, and the way I'm going to interpret the result of that roll is actually like the Aryan do give a good impression to the Edenites broadly approve. However, Dylan and the Aryan are really unsettled and weirded out by the Edenites. Like, you all feel uncomfortable with the Edenites, not the other way around. The
We saw
Edenites
the
are like,
fungal person in the corner and we're
you
told that
saw
there
the
was nothing
mushroom
in the corner.
lady. Yeah,
Yes, tell us about your travels.
you saw the immortal mushroom lady breathing purple spores and not moving, and you were like,
Hey guys. All right.
So that's the kind of relationship between you is a little uneasy, where the Edenites are like, humoring the Aryan and feeling pretty positive about them. The Aryan are quite scared of the Edenites, as you travel together. However, a decision is made that there is going to be a meeting of the families. Now, this meeting of the families has to happen on neutral ground. It can't happen in any of your home territories. So you have decided on the essentially pirate settlement of Devil's Rock, next to the massive acid lake that was once Los Angeles, now known as Los Diablos. This steaming lake of boiling acid, is surrounded by small, scrappy settlements of survivors who are unaffiliated with any one particular faction. And power in these settlements changes hands all of the time as various different warlords kind of scrap their way to the top and get knocked back down again. Dylan, you were asked to send a message to the songbirds to fulfill your role, or part of your role as being among the Aryan of basically connecting the families. And also, I suspect it would have been the Aryan who were asked to reach out to the Aegis to ask the Aegis to come to be as observers, but also as protectors to diffuse any potential conflict and keep things at this meeting peaceful. The Aegis are trusted for their moral judgment, I think, and just generally it's believed that they will like maintain a peace. Obviously, Fib, the librarians, have also been invited. I suspect that this meeting was in part organized by the librarians and Edenites in conjunction with each other. Which actually brings me to a little note that I didn't get to tell you last time, which is that I have an idea for the ways that the Edenites and librarians communicate with each other. If Syrinx and Alia, you're open to it, which is that I like the idea that you've essentially created a hybrid fungal slash like radio device thing. So basically it uses fungal spores to communicate and kind of like one of those like etch a sketches, like you can send essentially like a telegram but using fungal spores, and the Edenites and librarians like worked together on how to like hijack this technology to make it work with this new stuff. If you guys like that, I kind of like the idea that the Edenites and librarians have this direct line of communication to each other.
I like that. I also like the idea of that it was the librarians insisting on having this line of communication because they were
Yeah.
like, of course you need to be able to talk to each other like that, and they're like, no, we'll just like meet each other. It'll be fine. No, we
No,
need a
no.
line.
We need a line. We were very impressed with Amanita, who ended up living with the Edenites, and we wanted to keep that connection so we can keep that information flowing.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think I really enjoy how the Edomites are like scary hippies in a lot of ways, like in my head. Like they're just kind of like, whatever, like just fate will make us find each other at the right time. And also, can I like put mushrooms in your organs? And
I'd
it's
love
like,
to see your
okay.
insides. That would be dope.
Meanwhile the Aryan are just like, nope, nope, nope. Cool. So I would love it if each of you could tell me. And in a moment, I'm gonna kind of introduce Devil's Rock to you and introduce to you the kind of tavern where you're all meeting. Because who doesn't love an RPG party hanging out in a tavern? But first, I'd like each of you to describe to me your journey to Devil's Rock in like a bit of a montage to focus on like one or two details. And tell me like what your character is thinking on their way to this meeting. This meeting is kind of intended to be an exchange of knowledge and information between the factions. The Edenites and the librarians are interested in getting some knowledge from the songbirds. Possibly the Edenites and the librarians have information to share. And then for the Aryan and the Aegis, this is really a diplomatic mission for both of you, because it's kind of a test to see whether the Aegis can be anything other than combative, like if you can be defensive as well as combative, and then like neutralize a situation, defuse a situation instead of inciting one. And obviously for the Aryan, it's a test of your ability to essentially, you guys are the ones holding the peace talks, you guys are the ones chairing and facilitating them. You've brought the songbirds here, so they are your responsibility if anything goes wrong. Like they've come here trusting you. So that is politically what's happening. So
You're in charge of two factions, buddy. Good luck.
Thanks. Yeah, we're super excited about it, and everything has always gone great.
Take my hand.
So oh. So I would love yeah, each of you to describe to me a little bit your character's journey to Devil's Rock and what's going through their mind. Starting with Angela.
Alrighty. I think the journey over to Devil's Rock for Emiliana has been it's been a mixture of different things. One, it's slightly bittersweet because I think she's heard stories of what this place used to be like. So there's a sense of like, oh, this is what it is now. So there's a lot of like wistful wishing for something that she never got to be a part of. But I think there's also, because we all, just to be clear, Ella, we all know all of the other parties are going to be involved. We're not surprised about
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
going to be
yeah.
in
No,
attendance,
no, no,
correct?
no, 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 no. That would
Okay.
be like grounds for conflict. No, everyone has been very much informed of like, this is the faction, this is the name of the representative, this is who
Okay.
you're meeting, this is when we're meeting, this is what we're going to discuss.
That's what I figured, but I wanted to make sure. I think is the most reluctant to participate in conversation with probably Fib and Evangeline, only because she hasn't interacted with them, so she doesn't know if Fib will exhibit what I think in her past has been some of the most not great tendencies for intellectual investigation that the librarians have had before, or at least people looking into knowledge and to preserve it aren't always necessarily aligned with morality. The two are not synonymous with one another, so she's hesitant about them. She's definitely kind of, as much as she doesn't want to admit it, excited about seeing Echo, because she's like, okay, this could be an interesting thing that comes out of this. But Evangeline, there's an element of like, this could go really well because we do have a history of having of our groups having interacted with one another like way back, but also random spore lady question mark, just it not like as a negative or a positive, just unsure of what to make of this. So I think there's an element of her traveling through a lot of places. It's getting harder for her to move different spots, and I think the tendency for her sight to start having the black spots or the completely going black phenomenon has been, it's been happening a little bit more regularly. But there's also a sense of like, I think, hopefulness that she's trying not to get lost in either. She's trying not to be too optimistic. She's trying not to be too like pessimistic about this situation. She's just like, she is the definition of whatever the most hopeful version of, listen, I did not start how these events went, but I will surely finish it if it comes to that scenario. But I would prefer not to have to do that. She's very measured, I think, in how she's approaching everything, and definitely has a mobility aid of some kind that she's been using that's probably starting to wear down in quality a little bit.
I really like in my head, like Emiliana very much has the kind of like Butch James Dean, like quiet, like thoughtful, kind of like dusty old cowboy kind of thing, you know, like that, like weather-beaten skin and the salt and pepper, like and just kind of like really like, you know, terse and stoic, and like as you're going through this dusty wasteland, just not really saying anything but saying everything with a look. Like is kind of how I imagine Emiliana.
Swap out heavy weather-beaten Butch for tall, self-assured femme, and you got it pretty much.
Yes, yes.
Listen, we love our hard femmes. Let's be clear about
We
this.
do love our hard femmes. Oh, she could kick your ass.
And you would thank her.
And you would thank her for it, exactly. Okay, awesome. So Casey, what does Dylan's journey look like, and what is he thinking on the way to Devil's Rock?
Yeah, I think the Aryan are very nervous about this. I think the Aryan have possibly not been so nervous in maybe like 2+ years. Because I think this is recognizably a good deal and or a big deal, and it carries a lot of weight among the faction. Like everyone's trying to be cool and chill and lighthearted about it, but I think this maybe feels like kind of like the last chance to all of them. Like if this goes badly, there's already only 7 of us. We're out of a lot of the things we need. So we cannot afford to mess this one up. But also, like, we're not trying to panic each other. So, Dylan's doing his best to be like, all right, we're having, team dinner tonight. And, they're all hanging out and trying to have a nice journey there. But everybody is a little bit, understandably, it feels more on edge. But Dylan is doing his best to like keep spirits high and go in with like the this is going to be fine, we have all got this under control type attitude, because somebody has to, and I think Dylan and V are the people that are up to that. I think they have some pretty well charted routes. I don't think getting to Devil's Rock, it's called Devil's Rock.
Yeah.
I don't think Devil's Rock is like, I don't think they go there a lot, but I certainly think they know the way. So I think they're probably, in terms of journey, like pretty effective getting there pretty quickly. They just reroute the caravan, and I think they probably, maybe they've charted some path after this like megafauna, like coyote or mountain lion or some sort of like desert creature that lives in this area, so that they know a good way. Possible that they pick up Echo along the way. I don't know what land transportation looks like for the songbirds. Part of me really enjoys the idea of Echo in a huge, like, in all of the songbird attire, just chilling with the Aryan caravan for like 2 days, like, hey guys, but
I
it's whatever you're feeling, Mods.
I was gonna ask actually both Syrinx and Moz. Like I'm imagining we know that Fib gets to Devil's Rock independently because they were already on their way last session. And I think it also makes sense for Emiliana to get to Devil's Rock independently because she's like in a whole separate location. We discussed that. But for Evangeline and Echo, like Evangeline, we did leave off last session with Dylan heading to the Edenite settlement, so it could be that like Evangeline just yeah like got on the caravan and traveled with some Edenites and alongside the Aryan. And then for Echo, like Mods, it's really up to you whether there happens to be, as we've discussed, like the shattering of the continent led to like thousands of new rivers and inlets being created across like North America. So you could easily say that there is just a body of water closer to Devil's Rock that the songbirds could use to like get there faster. Or if you'd like, we could instead say that you hook up with the Aryan caravan at some point. So I guess I'll go to Syrinx first and then Moz, if that's okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Syrinx, do you think Evangeline like travels with the Aryan or like waits until the Aryan leave in that awkward way you do when your friend is leaving somewhere but you're going the same direction? You have to give it like 5 minutes so it doesn't look like you're following them because you just said goodbye and you really don't want to have to say goodbye again. Um,
No, I think it would be the very friendly thing of like, oh well, you're going there as well. We have to go there as well. Let's travel together. But it's the not I'm now doubting because I was gonna say it's not sitting in a caravan. I would imagine that the Edenites would be traveling on like various types of animals alongside the caravans. Um Again, for the Aryan, it's like all kinds of reptile-esque creatures, but like there's stuff off on them. Um the Edenites would be traveling with the caravan.
I would like to
Like that.
revise what I said about the caravan. It is significantly less cool and chill and a lot more like when you're carpooling with your group of friends, but then also like two people that you've met one time before, so you don't know what to talk about.
You mean with your colleagues?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know much about the reptiles of North America, but I'm imagining kind of like a giant goanna situation. But like when I say giant, I mean like the size of a bison. And like fully just yeah, the Edenites like on these like big, slow, kind of like long turns, like kind of just like walking alongside. And I imagine like the moose that the Aryan used to drag their caravan are just a little bit like also not comfy with the giant reptiles and just kind of like occasionally a little nervy. I mean, they're giant moose and moose are already giant, so they're not scared of the reptiles. They kind of know that they could trample them if they need to, but they're not comfy with the reptiles either, especially with that whole thing that like there's at least one species of giant goanna that like bites you and then lets you die of disease, and I think that's something that the moose are
Hey,
very much like oh no thank you.
that's nice.
So
That's cool. That's good. Yeah.
great, amazing. So the Edenites are kind of doing their hippie thing in their very creepy, like a slightly too close to nature way. And the Aryan are trying to keep spirits up. Emiliana is just traveling through the desert like the like kind of like experienced woman that she is, just being like, yeah, I can handle this shit. Like a Fib has also like, intrepidly kind of like gone out into the desert with like all of their librarian kit. Like, yeah, I'm packed. It's all good. And Moz, what's happening with the songbirds? How does Echo get there?
Um, yeah, that's in my brain. Okay. Since the songboards are songboards, What am I saying?
Song
Sorry.
boys.
Voids,
Song
voids.
Voids.
Since the songbirds are very isolationist, and uh, Echo is probably the first person to kind of think about kind of reaching out. Um, Echo and Dylan know each other. Um, we'll talk about that later. But they know each other, and the way they send messages is through messages in bottles in the water. And so messages could be late or early. And there are moments where Dylan with their moose would be waiting on shore. And then later at night they have left and there's like moose tracks that are gone. And that's when Echo finally comes from the deep and like realizes they're late. So because of that delay and because of that time and the ocean and how it works, they for sure would not go with the caravan just because they have that deep fear. And also I can imagine Echo getting the message, knowing how valuable it is, going with back to their council, and the council is like, "Heck no, no, we're not doing that. That's never been our thing." And then weeks and weeks of deliberation that kind of like cause them to finally say, "Okay," and how they would travel. They As a person who's a fan of Subnautica, they would have like a large creature that Steam Hearts would kind of hold on to, and then they would have like equipment and stuff to hold on like personnel who don't have those large suits or anything like that, or like other accommodations for like travel. And then they're animals, they probably do have certain like mating circles, cycles and things like that. So we're like planning on that time, like, okay, this is where we are, this is the inlet that we need to go to, this is the arc that they make, we're going to like use the steam hearts to get this like, I don't know, current kind of like Finding Nemo kind of thing, and use that to come close. And Echo for sure, also because I wish I used this when we were silvers, the Call of the Deep. I still want to use that so badly. But uh they like kind of come to that beach and the steam hearts want to follow, and so they would kind of have like a little, what's it called, like a party, or like a council group of the songbirds, a representative
Like a
group.
landing party. That's so you're fully gonna turn up with like a couple of people in full mech armor to this
they're
diplomatic
they're
meeting
not
of
gonna
you
let
like
her go. Sorry, let them
yeah.
go without someone. But I can see Echo saying like, stop, just like at this like it's line, and like, let me step forward because they are that person, they are that link. um and they're the one who kind of is leading this landing party. So yes, fully coming in with steam hearts and a couple of tide collars. Imagine just different personnel. Uh even uh Naiad is there, but probably a little bit older and now is like a little specialist. And everyone has like different types of armor on for whatever their roles are. And then like maybe like two steam hearts and like big diving gear, and they just don't get out because I've kind of imagined that by this time, anyone who has taken that role is a little bit suited for that suit or that in like work. And so they kind of walking out into like air is like, this is this is weird for me. So they have like their suit is very important to them, kind of Bane with his thing from, what is it, Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they're they're just silent sentinel kind of feeling. Yeah. um but Echo is, I think she's now covered in more scars just from like travel, and uh she's a little weary, and being on land is exhausting for her. So every step, everything feels like, the vision for the songbirds coming back to the water is because I have an autoimmune condition. So everything, when my own body hits me, it feels like I'm going through like sludge a little bit. So that feeling, like being weightless, is like, one, I wish I could feel that all the time. And then two, that's what the songbirds feel all the time. And then going back into the land, they feel that weight of gravity. So wherever Echo's going, you can just see her like struggle just a little bit, just like, or like everything gripping everything, or she'll try to like jump up a little bit more because she's hoping that buoyancy would come back. But she hasn't been on land this long, except for the one time with Dylan. But that's for later.
Oh my God. Okay, cool. Also, I don't have access to the chat right now because my internet is really bad. So if someone on my behalf can just put "and they were pen pals" heart emoji in there for me, that would be great.
We were.
Like,
They are pen pals.
yeah. Also, like, man, Mars, that is such a mood. Like, I described chronic fatigue the other day as like I feel like my body is made of clay and I like carry it around. And yeah, that thing of like being able to be weightless is, oh yeah, gorgeous. I love this. I love the Songbirds are already a very strange faction, and I love the idea of them turning up to this meeting and no one's seen or heard from them in like years, and they turn up with their fucking diving suit mechs and like strange suits and everything, and they're just like this little cohort in the corner who are very strange.
Yeah,
Okay.
what people have seen, I know there's a couple of like Steam Hearts who probably were like hired mercenaries who kind of broke the communication, and there's ways that the different factions may have seen glimpses of them, but this is like probably like a core part of the political group. So it's like you see them and you're just like, oh goodness, okay, they're all about that jazz. Got it. Okay, got it. They're about the water.
Oh, they're hardcore, huh?
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Like, I love it. So let me introduce you to Devil's Rock. So, on the border of the boiling bright white sulfurous acidic lake that once was Los Angeles City, there are these crooked, rusting settlements. They are made up of random sheets of metal soldered onto bits of rock and sandstone and clay. Everything is kind of hodgepodge and shoved together. The whole settlement stinks of sulfur all the time. People who live here get used to it, but it is that just like rotten egg, hot air, hot stone, hot metal smell that like hits you when like I mean even when you're like a mile away. It also very much stinks of petrol. This is a settlement that has responded with enormous hostility to the strange new flora and fauna. And one of the reasons that they live here is because the new flora and fauna avoid it because it's a very poisonous and toxic area. And they try to keep it that way by like just surrounding it with like, you know, pumping diesel engines and smoke and oil and like lots of kind of like iridescent puddles of oil and stuff, like using like motorbikes and quad bikes and different engines that really pump a lot of pollution into the sky, which means like for animals feel very uncomfortable here. In fact, for the Aryan caravan and the Edenites, both your reptiles and your moose are not going to be super comfortable once you get within less than a mile of this place just because it stinks. And for their animal senses, like this is just a place that feels dangerous to them and that they don't want to approach. That their instincts are kind of like overriding anything else. How do you respond? Do you there are like actually like kind of on these outer limits there's a couple of like ramshackle wooden stables which are set up for visitors because this is like a known issue that like lots of people in the wider continent primarily use animals for transport, but like around Devil's Rock, it's mostly kind of like machines and like quad bikes and stuff. So there are stables here for you to leave your animals. However, if you'd like to take them with you, you might be able to coax them into town. It will definitely be a roll. Syrinx and Casey, what you doing?
I don't think Dylan wants the caravan to come with him. I think Dylan is going to find V and tell her to wait on the outskirts, and if they don't hear from him in a couple of days to go.
Okay, but you know that I will just come in and then shoot someone, and then I will get you,
I-
and then we will leave.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yes.
Great.
But
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we're
okay,
clear
okay,
on
no,
this.
no, but we're also clear that if anything happens, you are going to take them and you're going to leave, right?
Yes, of course. But you know, you are included in them. There are 7 of us. We cannot afford to lose even one. And you are a very important one.
Okay. All right. I have, and Dylan's gonna toss the like a little. I think they have like a short range, like it's not. It's a pretty janky little walkie-talkie radio, like 70% success rate. You might need to like hit it a couple times with your hand to get it to work. Type radio. Throw one to me and be like, okay, yeah, we'll stay in communication. It'll be good. I got it.
Yes, no, and you always get the deer in headlights look when I shoot people, so I would prefer not to. So,
We'll keep that as a goal, like a key goal, maybe.
not shooting. Okay,
Not
I got
shooting.
it.
Yeah.
I understand. I will put it on the whiteboard next to the chores. Have you done the dishes this morning?
Of course, I haven't done the dishes this morning. I've been packing.
It is your turn to do the dishes, and a diplomatic
You know what?
mission does not mean you get to
I
avoid the
will go.
chore wheel.
I'm gonna go do the dishes, and then I'm gonna leave. Just
Okay,
for you, because you're my best friend and I love you. Okay? Okay.
good stuff. I love you too. I will kill for you. All right, goodbye.
Yes, no shooting. And then Dylan is gonna do the fucking dishes and then get his backpack and his instrument, just like all of his supplies, and then go walk back to Evangeline to go
No,
see if the
no, no, no,
Edenites are
no, you
ready.
don't get to do that, sir. Because like I imagine that the Edenites are like ready to go forward still,
Oh, do you
and
just
Dylan
leave
has this
us?
whole conversation. No, no, no. And then we see that Dylan has to go take time to do the dishes, and we're all just awkwardly waiting there. Like, is he for real going to do dishes now? Yeah. All right. Yes. Oh.
Dylan's gonna climb down like there's nothing wrong in the world. All right. Ready?
Just a couple soap bubbles on your jeans.
For us, I think it's only logical that we would try to get the animals to go with us because for some of the Edenites, the animals are like a protection,
Yeah.
kind of. So I think it's logical that they would try. I also think it's logical that they would come with and not just wait outside of the borders.
Yep. Okay, in that case, I want you to roll me Wasteland Survival, so roll plus Steel, to see whether or not you can essentially kind of persuade these animals to go into this like toxic place.
Can I try to help? Like if I'm on my like walking next to the
So-
iguanas and trying to help show them a way through.
So you can. There is a way to help each other on rolls in Legacy, but quite a cool cost in Legacy to helping with rolls is that if the roll fails, then you both suffer the consequences. So it's not a neutral thing. If you try to help, then you will take the risk of the roll failing too. Okay, all right. Then you can add +1 to your roll, sorry.
+1.
Yeah.
All right. Then
And then
that's
plus your steel 2d6.
11.
11, great, that's a total success. In fact, you are so successful that the flip side to the help action having a cost is that you also benefit from the success.
He gets to ride
So
on a reptile with me.
yeah, so I was gonna say, Dylan, I think one of the reptiles really likes you. I think like you try like by like talking to it, and it's like, oh,
Ew.
like person smells nice, and I like the sound of their voice. And the next thing you know, you've got like a lizard's head that is like the length of your arm. And its like tongue is like again like kind of the length of like your knee to your foot, and it's just like its eye is like ooh like about the size of your thumb, and it's just kind of looking at you with these like big teeth, and it's kind of like, and then it just kind of like bumps its head up against you, and as it does, like you're knocked over a bit by this like warm, very soft scaly lizard, which is warm from the sun, that's been kind of beating down on you all day. And so yeah, like Evangeline, this lizard, I don't know if this lizard has a name, but it loves
Darcy
Dylan.
seems to like you. You can ride on them to go inside.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, they seem sweet. And Dylan's gonna try to give them like a little scratch on the side of the face and be very normal
No,
and not
underneath.
afraid.
They like it more
yeah,
underneath.
no, of course, yeah.
So as he does, like Evangeline, sorry, Darcy makes this kind of like rumbling kind of huffing sound, and it's like claws like sink into the dirt, and you notice now that like each claw is like longer than your hand, like this kind of big curved black claw, and it's like long tail like sweeps across the dirt, and as it does, it like whacks into one of the wooden wheels of your caravan. You just hear this like crack of wood as the wood splits. And yeah, it seems really happy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. And
We
I'm
were ready to go 10 minutes ago, but it seemed you had urgent business to
I
do.
did. I
So
did.
indeed,
Yeah.
let's
Thank
go
you
inside.
for waiting. Okay. I'll get on the wizard.
Okay. So you start riding into town, and I want to kind of cut away now to the Songbird's arrival because this is absolutely how I want to introduce Devil's Rock. I love this image. So I'm gonna say a couple of things actually. I think Emiliana, you were actually the first to get here, even though in game we saw Fib leave first. I think Emiliana is probably the most like experienced wanderer of the desert. And you know, you're traveling alone, you're traveling light. You don't have like a horse and pack and supplies, like heavy supplies in the way that Fib does. You're not planning to archive everything you see. So like I think Emiliana, like I'm very much imagining her kind of like already seated in like the inn that's gonna be where you meet, and you're kind of doing like, you know, that bit in Lord of the Rings where Aragorn is just in the corner being cool and mysterious. Like I'm imagining
I
Emiliana in that role.
I was very much imagining like the body posture is just her like a cane set down on the side of a table, her feet propped up on a chair, waiting for people, and just sort of just sitting there, her arms crossed, just like looking like she's asleep. But the moment anybody interacts, it's like one eye immediately like opens, but she's
And
just basically taking everything in.
And this is like an extremely rowdy bar, right? Like it's kind of like a biker bar. It's very dangerous. There's lots of very like dangerous people in here, but they have heard enough about the reputation of like the Riders of Valkyrie that they do give you like a really like big space. Like they don't do this for most newcomers, but specifically for Emiliana, like they're just kind of like, okay, yeah, yes, ma'am. All right, I'm sorry,
62-year-old
ma'am.
woman
Like
just sitting there on the corner, her feet propped up. She's just like, listen, like if anyone does try to come up with her, there's a lot of that energy of, listen, I appreciate that you think you're trying to be brave, but unless you would like to be immediately in a grave in about 5 minutes, I suggest you keep going.
Yep, I love this.
Big that energy.
Yeah, cool. And I want to go to Fib's arrival if Aaliyah is with us. And the Songbirds. So Devil's Rock. I've described it, I've told you kind of junk piled on junk, stinking, loud, raucous. There are various kind of like races happening around the lake. Some of them are like fully like messengers and stuff delivering things, but there's just always this kind of roar of engines, this screech of tires. It's very Mad Max. Also just generally walking down the street, you've got the sense of just being in a very dangerous dock. Lots of people have clearly been drinking, lots of people are clearly high, just everyone's like, a lot of people are just very inebriated, and so there's just a lot of chaos. There's a lot of just like random swinging of fists. You know, some guy will just fall down in front of you. You hear gunshots almost constantly, just like randomly kind of like popping out everywhere around you. It stinks to high heaven. There is like shit on the ground, there is piss on the ground, there's vomit on the ground. There is also definitely probably blood, kind of hard to tell because it's a desert, so it just soaks in and looks dark on the dust. But like it's either water or blood, so hey, you can be optimistic if you wanna. And in this very dangerous location, Fib turns up as a librarian. So what does that look like, Aaliyah?
Well, the librarians are very noticeable as like the librarian order. We adorn ourselves in different ways with tattoos and monistic robes, circuitry on it and whatnot. Also carrying technology as well. And you can see just like big lumps under my robes and whatnot of what can be assumed as technology, and definitely an original IP little computer terminal connected to one's wrist that is definitely absolutely not a Pip-Boy. that Fib then uses to check and see what's going on. Fib is a wasteland traveler or a seeker, so has been out and been walking around, definitely familiar with this type of an environment. But even the librarians know you don't go to Devil's Rock without a very, very good reason. And so Fib, yeah, Fib is definitely wary, watching, um, face masked for the smell and whatnot. Yeah,
I'm
that's how they come.
sorry, but I have this image of the librarians in my head now when you say like big robes and like tech underneath it. I imagine them all like traveling as a tight group, like very tight together. And like I don't know if you've ever seen how the fairy godmothers in Disney like on the they basically have like a what's it like the device a hoverboard or what is it that like you stand on, you just lean forward and you ride, but you don't see it because the dress is that long, so it just looks like the person is floating, levitating forward. I just imagine them in a tight group all levitating forward.
I'm obsessed with them. So I think that there's like a skinny like little kid on a corrugated roof, and this kid has like very white skin and is ginger and is burned so badly. Like, man, like the sunburn is not good for a ginger white kid in the desert. But like it comes like scrambling down from this corrugated iron roof, and it's kind of like, oh, it's the same face, it's the same face, oh, there's the same face here. And then kind of like runs over to this taller guy, who is similarly like very pale, has very light skin, although he like is wearing a big wide-brimmed hat and a heavy cloak to protect him from both the acid and the sunburn. And he kind of comes over to you, this like tall, strong guy, and kind of like peers at you. He's like, here, have I? Are you the same face I've met before? It's really hard to tell with you lot. Have we met before?
I'm sure we have. I've been here a time or two. Don't you recognize me? And this is like the tattoo on the face of the librarians is individual to each
Yeah,
librarian.
I'm gonna be real with you. They all look the fucking same to me. Like, and you all do literally look the fucking same. So, like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to give you here. You're literally clones. You have a secret language that you don't teach us. So, you're asking me to recognize a pattern that I've seen maybe once, like several years ago.
Well, I have been here before, just to make it easier for you. I'm Fib. I am here
Not a
actually.
name that inspires a lot of trust.
It's numerology. It's numbers. You can call me 1123, but people find that one kind of odd too.
It's like fib for Fibonacci. See, I know maths too.
That is very impressive.
Yeah. We're not all stupid wastelanders out here. Some of us criminals have educations.
I would say not such a thing. We are here to help and provide technology.
So we can kill people better.
If that's what you choose to do with it, and as long as it's not us, yes.
All right. Great. Let's have a talk. And he kind of shepherds you to like his shop where you can kind of do your first essentially diplomacy with the locals before like heading to the tavern that's named as the meeting spot. Meanwhile, the songbirds emerge from the water. And again, I always feel like when we go to the songbirds, we're fully jumping into a different movie where there's just this really cool slow-mo action sequence of these fucking diving suit mechs emerging from the water, like dripping like crystalline drops in the bright glaring sunlight, reflections and like this heat mirage kind of coming off the metal as the water kind of like steams into the air. And like immediately like one of like these other kids like on a rooftop, this one with kind of like darker skin and black curly hair, they've got a little telescope and they kind of like extend out the brass telescope and they look at it and they're just like kind of staring like as you like your cohort like starts to approach the town. And then they kind of climb down from like their little like set of like corrugated huts, like past like this washing line of like it's kind of like a funny washing line in that like there's like cargo shorts, but also like a gun holster, and then just like a random like empty clip like of a pistol just like stapled to the like pegged to the line to dry out in the sun. And they come down to this woman who has like beautiful long dark hair, and she's wearing a red sari, and she has a scar down the side of her face that means that one of her eyes is like scarred shut. And she's wearing this big gold nose piercing and these lovely gold earrings, and he kind of tugs on her skirt and is like, uh uh boss, there's something weird coming. And she kind of looks at him and she's like, weird how? It's like, I don't even know how to describe this. And he just gives her the telescope. And so she takes it and climbs up the ladder and kind of looks and she's like, oh my God. And then she kind of like starts giving instructions to all of the kids. And so by the time that your cohort arrives, Echo, this woman is there to greet you. And she's like, she's got like a kind of like pretty heavy gun like slung around like her chest that she's like holding in front of her that's like on a strap, but she isn't pointing it at you. She's just making it clear that she has it. And as you get closer, there's a couple of like different like people of various genders behind her, who are all similarly armed. Some of them with guns, some of them with like machetes or like makeshift spears and stuff, which are essentially like machetes strapped to like long bits of like rusted metal or wood. And she puts a hand on her hip and she's like, songbirds.
The That was the first amazing image. And yes, Pacific Rim soundtrack was playing in my head the entire time. Um, and what everyone would hear are these like very monstrous versions of whale sounds because the Leviathan they came in is like imagine like a hermit crab face with like little feelers like that like the tentacles coming out and then like a whale body and then like tentacles for like a squid kind of tail and you'll just see this huge fin and I based it off the Leviathan from Subnautica so it's like 115 meters so you just see this big fin in the background and like the steam hearts kind of coming up and you just immediately see like their chest plates kind of open and just like coming through and Echo kind of turning to them and just two of their party one of their party is uh uh cannot see so they do a quick whistle tune and immediately that steam heart turns knowing fully well like where this person is and with their whistles and like a little bit of like their like lights that they have the party kind of turns and Echo just oh wait and kind of steps off like a makeshift I guess raft that they have um the rest of the tie collars are kind of like doing signals and stuff in the water with the lights and they turn like red and blue and kind of scare off the Leviathan from coming closer to the beach so you see you make like this big roar and then it like dives out into the water and you just see like a little flap of like a little glowy light and then kind of disappears and as soon as that light goes away she has like a finger to her mouth like okay and then turns I didn't know we would have a welcoming party. I thought I'd see and they're kind of looking around for a specific person, but then they're like, I guess I guess introductions then. Echo.
Um, so I think like that as these like kind of various roars and massive creatures are happening, like several of the people behind this woman like are shifting uneasily, like a couple of people like shift to get like better grips on their weapons. A few people definitely look like they're gonna run away, like no fucking way are they even gonna try and fight that shit, like fuck that. But the only person who like manages to maintain like a pretty good poker face is this woman. And she like when you say your name and kind of hold out your hand, she holds out her own. She has this like beautiful henna on the back of it, and she's wearing a lot of these golden rings. And she's got these glass bracelets that like glitter in the sunlight, mostly red and gold. And she takes your hand and shakes it, and she says, "My name's Artie, and we're doing things. I don't know that I represent Devil's Rock, but I certainly represent a faction within it. Why are you in my town?"
Are you not with the ones that do the
Oh, what? The Aryan? The photography club? Those kids?
Yes, yes. I thought I would um
I
we're
like
here to come and meet with everyone, and I I personally know someone of the Aryan that has invited me here. And even though those monsters things are going and the people behind are scared, the handshake and the closeness that's between Artie and Echo is what actually makes the team behind her tense. So you'll see like Steamheart stepping up and just kind of like nervous, and her face is showing that. Um, she's this grizzled, like very she has like her like suit has like her sleeves off, so she's very muscular and very tall, but her face is scared, and you can see like just like the nerves of conversation that is full words when they usually in the water it's through like sound or light. And so she's just like, we're here to meet with everyone, I believe, but um the one we know, yes, it is Arian, yes. And we were called to come here, um, to meet together.
so I think that Artie like her good eye is this like very rich and beautiful brown, and she kind of sees this nervousness on your face and like definitely clocks the steam heart stepping forward. She kind of like very gracefully steps backward as you hear as she does, you hear this jangle of like bangles on her ankles. And she kind of glances back, and we see the pale man we saw earlier meeting Fib. And she kind of looks over her shoulder at him quite imperiously. And it's kind of like, we seen any moose recently? And the guy like kind of nods. He was like, yeah, some big freaky lizards too. They're arriving in the west side of town. And she's like, right, well, keep your entourage to yourself and we won't have any trouble. If not, I'm sure we can find out how long those suits withstand the acid of the lake.
I I doubt that that would be a well. I understand your meaning. They're not going any further, but they will make camp here. They will not leave my side if they can. Um, and so she does like a couple whistles, and you see like to like Naya to come out, and they have like gear and everything, kind of making a little post. Um, and then they're call like other Thai callers are calling to like smaller like marine life to kind of start like helping them build like little like a campsite and a little fishing area and like little things like that. And like even a steam heart kind of like putting their hand on on Echo's shoulder, and Echo just like they'll be fine as long as you all are fine, they will follow.
So two things. First of all, I think that like like that scene in what is it, Enchanted, where she does the princess singing thing, but then the rats of New York turn up. I think it's a little bit like that here with the tide callers, where we're in the middle of a desert and no one has ever seen the songbirds before, and then suddenly like
Like
crabs and shit are
crabs.
emerging from the sand and like skittering around and like picking up little objects, and there's
Yep.
like little
Yep.
like
And Naiad's
slimy
doing the crab
enemies
dance, like
things.
trying to like help them. Just
like like
he learned
it's
it in
all
school.
oh it's all a little unsettling for these like normal people, these normies, and so I would like you please, Echo, to roll me a diffuse, so roll plus sway. And this is both to get some insight into this group, but also to make sure that they don't see you, that they're not so unsettled by you that they think you're a threat.
It's a 3.
Okay. All right. Oh boy, howdy. Okay. Well, this means that this whole session is going to go in a slightly different direction to the way I thought it was going to go. Here's what happens. The Edenites are arriving in town. This is not a big town. When I call it a town, it is a collection of huts, which in this apocalypse makes it a town. But there are like maybe 70 people here. Like you can, the whole one side of town to the other, you can shout and someone will hear you on the other side of town. It has one street. So the Edenites are arriving on one side of town, and the songbirds are towards the other side of town. And in the middle, in the tavern, are Fib and Emiliana. Fib, you were taken there by your like local guides. You're aware that this is the meeting location. Emiliana, you were already set up in here, as we've discussed. Um, as the Edenites arrive, like on your giant fucking lizards, and we're gonna get to that in a moment. Devil's Rock is really going through it. I understand that I was like, this is a settlement of like, like criminals and violent people, but also in their defense, random mecha diving suit people who talk to fish turned up, and then other people turned up on giant fucking lizards on the same fucking day, and they're all a bunch of like defensive survivors who are like, the fuck is going on? The Edenite starts heading up, and there's a big crowd kind of around you, Evangeline, as you're riding in on Darcy, like loads of people staring. Dylan, you definitely notice a couple of the kids trying to get closer to Darcy. These children are smaller than Darcy's head, and you don't know whether Darcy eats meat. So just be aware of that, like, concern. There's also definitely like a couple of like street dogs and like that kind of thing, which are all like, the street dogs are definitely more like, ooh, they don't love like this giant scary lizard. And like cats that are hissing and running like up onto rooftops and stuff. Various birds that have fully just quit, just noped. There's actually like fully just a flock of them. And further off though, we can see like in the shallows of this giant acidic lake, there's just like a little handful of flamingos just chilling, just because they're extremophiles and they can live in like highly acidic boiling temperatures, and so they're the only thing not bothered by this arrival. But yeah, what happens is um Echo, the tide callers start doing their freaky talking to wildlife thing, and from the perspective of the people who live in Devil's Rock, they are in a horror movie where suddenly like the dust of the desert erupts into thousands of tiny crawling creatures which seem to maybe be a swarm that obeys these people in giant mech suits who are heavily armed. And yeah, just fully people start firing. Like some of these gangsters, like they're not gonna talk first and ask questions. They start shooting, and as they does, like do like Artie kind of swears, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And she kind of like ducks down like out of the way. She immediately gets cover. But yeah, I'm not imagining the Steam Hearts are gonna respond super well to this. Like several of these gangsters fully open fire on all of you. You have a couple of options here. You can try to defuse by doing another roll. However, you did just fail your roll, so I'm going to say you have to try to do one other thing first. You can fiercely assault, that means attacking. Or you can roll for your family. Since you have like your faction with you, you can use one of your family moves. That could be, well, actually, is there anything really relevant here? Not really. I guess you could roll hold together to make sure that like your group is safe. But yeah, or you can fiercely assault to attack. Um, and you can forge a path to try and like find a way out of this if you just want to run away. You can and yeah, once you've done at least one other thing, or you can also call for aid. Since you after failing to roll as well as you'd like, you say what another character nearby can do to boost your efforts. If the group agrees, the helper says how they do it and rolls an appropriate stat. So what you could do
Would
is,
that call to aid be a roar from a big monster loop?
yeah, so well, I was, oh yeah, you wanted to use Call of the Deep, right? Like
Granted, no, I read it and I am scared of that now. I can call it. I can call it, but the thing literally says, if you're near, so it's Los Angeles. I'm imagining this is like is this Santa Monica Bay or something like the Bay Area?
Probably.
That
It'd probably be that.
right? That's what I imagine, and then like that's where they're kind of close to. Um, uh, if you're near a large body of water, you can summon a beast from its depth. It will arrive, but it will rampage heedless of your wishes. So I was like, you know what? I do want to use it, but for this though, I kind of imagine when things are going down, Ari and Echo are the ones like, oh wait, we need to stop them.
yeah.
And so of course, Steam Hearts would respond. The first thing that they will do is try to get the younger like nestlings like close. Naiad would like try to fight, but Echo would be like, get behind me like right now. Um, it's exactly what kind of they expected. So of course they're going to come with that energy. So I'm fine with this, but like I can't remember. It was you said I have to do something before I can diffuse or something before I don't
So
want
you
to
fail.
attack.
Yes, so you failed a diffuse roll, and so I don't want to be like do the same roll twice until you succeed. So I want you
Mhm.
to try one other thing, before you try to do a diffuse roll again. Your options include you could call for aid, so like a lot of the other characters are within calling distance, so you can definitely like call on one of them for aid, and they can do a roll for you to try and diffuse the situation. If you have any character specific abilities, you can use those. You can fiercely assault, which is attack, but you said that you don't want to. And you can also forge a path, which would mean just find a way to escape, and just leave this situation.
Um, I have hold back the tide. Vigilance. Um, hold back the tide is when you stand in defense of a person, place, or thing. You roll steel, and I get to pick one or two based on the roll.
Cool. Yeah. Give me that roll plus steal, please.
Please do not be another 3. We really don't need another 3 right now.
It's no okay. It's a I'm just trying to find my steel. 1 second.
Jeez, like the expression on your face, I fully thought you were gonna say it was another three. I was gonna be like, okay.
I feel bad for this town. Like they're just a bunch of criminals who have
Yeah,
things set up, and then a 115-meter long creature just fucking shows up.
yeah. No,
You just
again,
see the
exactly.
fin. It's just like it probably happens
A
once in a while
kaiju
during their
showing up in
mating
a
cycle.
town causes problems.
They are there.
Yeah.
They've always been there.
You
It's
are at
their
least
whole
a
They
level
The
3
babies want to
threat.
swim. Okay.
Yeah, like
You know,
especially like given that like this town and these people have survived an apocalypse like by kaiju, a kaiju turning up. It's like it's just like I was really prepared for Devil's Rock and the people here to be the villains, but I think in many ways you all are the freaks. Like
I
like this
haven't done
whole
anything. I want to
like
be clear. I haven't done anything
excuse me.
yet.
no, you're right.
The
The
beach
Edenites
is
are somewhat
public property.
scary.
If that that baby wants to like swim around close to the beach, that's that's what the baby wants.
Beach is
Um,
acid.
it is it. I got Steelers plus 10, so that is a 10. So I can choose out of the two, which I will do. Um, uh, you force the danger back and away, and no harm comes to the thing to you that you defend. Like, I can't hear you.
I was muted. I don't know why I was muted. I don't know how I was muted, but there we go. I think you can hear me now because you're all giggling. Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna suggest to you, Moz, that I think a thing that might be quite cool is like, so first of all, yeah, like no one with you gets hurt. Yeah, the Steam Hearts do their job extremely effectively. They're very fucking good at this. So like you're all fine. um I think like a couple of the mercenaries get hurt. I think it's also almost comical because it's not even that the Steam Hearts are yet taking offensive action. It's just that like the ricochet of bullets off these steel suits mean that they just like injure each other rather than actually injuring you. Like like it's a full like it's a little bit of a spaghetti western moment of like bang, oh, why isn't it working? That kind of thing. So there's that. But then I'd like to suggest that maybe for like getting them back in a way, would it be okay if maybe the tide callers or someone like we got like one more big roar from your Leviathan that brought you here? Because I kind of like the idea that there's a moment where like maybe one or more of the tide callers kind of like it turns their attention to the Leviathan just in case you need an escape. And as it like emerges from the water, like it think, I mean, I don't know how you read the Leviathan's intelligence, so I don't know how much it like thinks through what it sees, but broadly speaking, it understands that fellow animals in my colony are in danger, animals in another colony are attacking my colony, therefore
Mm.
territorial dispute is happening. Um, and so I'm imagining it like emerges from this water and this like cascade, like a waterfall of salt water, like just shedding off like the kind of like mandibles and tentacles at the front of its face. And it's like many, many eyes gleaming in the sunlight and just this like massive, overpowering smell of salt water. And then from the other side of town, Dylan, Evangeline, Emiliana, and Fib, even in the tavern, everyone in town and everyone in all of the neighboring settlements hears this just like massive screeching whale song roar of like, and it just like blasts through the town on this like wave of salt water so strongly that like the steam hearts hold strong and they kind of hold the nestlings, so they're fine. But like a lot of the kind of like various like scavengers and stuff are literally like blown backwards by the force of this roar. Like the ground rumbles as if there's an earthquake, and like basically anyone who was still interested in picking a fight fully just runs. They just turn around and run away. They just like you successfully you win the roll against their like ability to like their willpower check. They just like they give the fuck up. The only person who doesn't run away is Artie, who just like swears like quite a lot in Gujarati and then like kind of looks at you and is like, I admit that attempting to organize a group of criminals is not always fantastically successful, especially in the face of alien monsters they don't understand. Are you all right?
I'm all right. Um, that was not what I wished for either. We arrived here in the way that we would have arrived anywhere else and anywhere in 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 our world, in the world, if we wanted to reach a tide. Um, I promise, and they kind of like take the hand of the steam heart that's on their shoulder, and like on their glove is open to like a not open to palm like fully, but like can feel their palm, and they kind of trace like words like to them, to kind of calm them and say like, we work with Big Blue, and I promise you, it won't attack you. It was just scared for us as we were. So whatever that call was, it was just to hold everybody off. I promise you, they have no. We've traced their life cycle, and we don't know where they go to breed or do their much of their work. But I promise you, what they eat is nothing on here. I promise, not you're all fine. You're nothing. She's just they're just like rambling, like trying to like put information like marine biology information like they never come this close to the tide except for moments like this to drop us off, and for food they usually go underwater. They fight other titans
So
of
so
the
I
sea,
think
and
like as Echo kind of like rambles like anxiously, a couple things happen. Artie clicks her fingers at one of the kids who runs off, and at like in the time it takes them to come back, she fully just puts a finger on Echo's lips, like just gently, but just like shush, um and then she like waits for you to stop talking. Do you stop talking?
no.
Okay, cool.
And we found all the
She's
like
just
life
gonna
cycles
like
to be
gently
very
like
consistent
shut
with
your
3
jaw.
years, and
Please stop talking.
yes.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. I understand. The kid comes back and there's just this metal cup of something very sweet and cinnamon smelling of some like chai tea. And she just gives you the chai and she's like, "This is good. I think you should drink it unless you're allergic to, I don't know, land stuff. Are you allergic to the land? We really don't know anything about you
Cinnamon
people."
is tree bark, so I feel like in some ways they're not familiar with it, so they kind of sniff it for a second, and like the spice gets to their face, and you just see like their eyes well up with tears, and they're just like, it's warm. I've never had. I mean, yes. We have drinks like this all the time. And then she like quickly sips it, and you just see her like burn her like lip really really quickly, like, and then they kind of hand it to a Thai colleague really quickly, like, there we go. And they start like sharing it one by one. Naiad's probably the one's like, no.
Can you just, Mars, can you just do me a favor and do a 2d6 roll for me and tell me what number you get?
An 8. That's 4 and 4.
Okay. 8 of the people you're with really like the chai, and everyone else is like, the fuck. So I think it's actually quite popular, like among this landing party. I think there's quite a lot of like, huh, ooh, kind of moments. But in this time, everyone else will have had an opportunity to react, and I'd like us to kind of bring ourselves up to the present moment before we go to break, and then we'll take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back in once you're all in the same place. I'm gonna start with the people who are on a mount, because I'm gonna imagine that you guys can probably get there fastest. I think it's gonna be a race between you and Emiliana, but still, you are already on a giant lizard. So when you hear gunshot shouting and then giant leviathan scream, how do Dylan and Evangeline react? You can also see the leviathan. It's not hard to miss. Or it is hard to miss. Like, it's fucking massive. It is bigger than the town.
So I think that happens. The Leviathan appears, it roars, and Dylan takes it all in. It makes a sound, and I think it's more of just like a, "Hey, Echo," and he is going to get the fuck off of the lizard and go running towards wherever like this seems like it's happening.
You know, you would
Cool.
be faster staying on the
He's gone. He is gone.
I really like the idea that Evangeline, if she chooses to go to, like,
Yeah.
goes past Dylan.
Yeah.
on the
I have a saddle. Just-
But
Um,
actually, she would go past them, but maybe one of the people with them who's a bit more physical apt will just pick up Dylan like yoink.
yeah, cool. Okay, both of you roll me a steal roll, please.
Okay.
And whilst you're doing that,
Any
actually, to save
chance
us all
this
some
counts
time,
as wasteland survival?
yes, it does.
Fabulous.
Whilst it does, Aaliyah and Angela, please also roll me 2d6 plus your steal and just keep a note of what you get. Um,
I got an 11.
cool, amazing.
Got a 7.
Okay. All right. So actually, like, what I will say is Dylan arrives first on foot with that roll. I think that what kind of works against Evangeline is the crowds. Like, this is like a very tiny town, but it's very crowded, and no one has seen people riding a giant fucking lizard before. And so you start riding it faster, and also this is like a town of criminals. If it was a town of civilians, they might be like, "Oh no, scary monster, get out the way." This is a town of criminals, and they're all like, "Huh, I wonder how much that thing's hide would sell for." And so like they're immediately like they are not scared off by the giant lizard, and so there's just this like mob of like maybe 100 200 people who just kind of crowd in this street, and it makes it really hard for Darcy to get past unless you like fully started a fight, which I mean, if you really want to start a fight with the whole pirate set, but yeah, like it's, you know. Dylan, however, is pretty subtle and can just blend into the crowd, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's one of the photography kids," and no one really wants to stop him, so like they just let him go past. And so he's able to kind of like weave through the crowd, really fast. And so yeah, Dylan, you will be first to arrive, along with Emiliana and Fib. What did you get for your roles?
I got a 9.
Okay.
11.
Nice. Okay, so actually Emiliana is going to arrive at the same time as Dylan. Angela, you tell me if this feels wrong for your character, but I'm imagining with Emiliana, it's like similar to Dylan in terms of getting through the crowd, but like where Dylan, I'm imagining, is doing a lot of like, oh, excuse me, like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, I think Emiliana just like silently just like fucking cuts, or like, yeah, like it just like so cool, like just very much like kind of, you know, just like absolutely shark in water, like just like gets through that crowd because you know how to get through a crowd. And despite your disability, despite your cane, I'm imagining like maybe Emiliana like uses like the bodies of people to help her get through the crowd. So instead of like relying on her cane, like when she is also needing to get through a crowd, she basically just holds onto people's shoulders and uses them to like pull herself through with like kind of upper body strength. Like, does that like read for you?
I think there's an element of that, but I think it's also I think she uses her left hand for her cane, and her right hand is just always like she has a very long sleeved like coat that's been adapted for wasteland travel, but it's also one of those things where she's not always the most subtle person, and because of that, she knows the kind of town she's in. She's probably seen some of these. So if there's ever anybody who's coming up to her, like they're like, "Oh, look at this old lady. She's there's nothing they could do with it." She like starts walking past them and taps them on the shoulder to indicate there is a gun hidden underneath the sleeve. It's like it's very much just the calm focused fury of a woman who says, "Do not fuck with me." It just
Um,
goes through.
okay, cool. So yeah, so like Dylan and Emiliana arrive at pretty much the same
Can
time.
I
Fib,
can I
oh
oh
yeah.
question, sorry. Can I activate one more move thing before we
Oh
get
yeah,
there?
yeah, sure. What is
I
it?
have one of my envoy moves, long memories. It says when you enter a new court, roll plus lore, and on a 7 to 9 you can name a secret of the leaders and an enemy of theirs, and a 10 plus you've helped them. If
Cool.
entering this spot would count as like
Yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah, for
sort of
sure.
like
Yes, yes.
and
Do the
specifically
roll.
pertaining to yeah, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Whilst Casey does the role, Aaliyah, Fib, comes in after Dylan and Emiliana. I like with Fib, it's very much that the crowd here knows you. Well, they don't know you. You are a clone. They have met your clones before, and possibly you. They cannot remember which. They call you all same face. You're all same faces to them. But everyone knows that a same face is like, you know, a merchant and a harmless flawless kind of like archivist, so everyone kind of lets you through. And that's fine. But yeah, like I think Evangeline and the Edenites are most delayed because of your big lizard. What did you get, Casey?
12.
Whoa! You get a bunch of stuff from that, right? Like,
Yeah.
tell me what you get.
So 7 to 9, it's a secret of one of the leaders, an enemy of theirs, and how we've helped them in a major way. So I think maybe there's some sort of like, despite photography club, like maybe the Aryan have done something for the people of Devil's Rock in the past, so that relationship leans positive.
Yeah, so I think that the thing that you did and know is um Jax, this pale guy who met with Fib, he did an attempted coup on Arcee, who's this woman who's currently with Echo. However, everyone actually likes Arcee because as much as she is like a hardened mercenary who has absolutely killed people, she doesn't kill people without like good reason, and she doesn't generally betray people either without like good reason. Whereas Jax, like, he will do anything for money. And so you guys like got wind of the fact that Jax was planning this coup. You told Arcee, she was able to hold her power. No one knows about this coup though, because like as a result, Arcee basically has Jax like through blackmail as her like right-hand man to keep like everyone like on his side of the fence, like under
So
fucking
good.
control. And it's like if he ever steps out of line, then she will reveal the fact that he tried to do this coup and her people will fucking murder him. And he knows that. So like now like basically like him and all of his like broadly kind of like white guy like kind of traitors like are like, oh yeah, okay, like we'll stick here, and Artie like holds control. But you facilitated that. And I think like one of the reasons for the photography club kind of gimmick is partly Jax's Bissa. And so definitely him and his factions, it's like it's a jab. But from Artie's perspective, she doesn't want to fix it because she wants people to keep underestimating the Aryan, because as long as they underestimate the Aryan, you're really good spies. But if everyone starts taking you seriously, then they're gonna stop being so loose-lipped around you. So like what Jax doesn't realize is that his kind of spiteful jibes are literally making you better at like spying on him and his faction. And so like that's kind of like the thing behind that. And I'm actually gonna say also as a result of that role, I'm going to give you the surplus spies. I'm going to say that through this role and through this like bit of narrative, we have established that the Aryan can do a bit of espionage. And so you can have that surplus. Um, okay, cool. So we're coming up on our break now. Our break is a little later than usual because we started later than usual. But for everyone watching and for our lovely producer, please make sure to hydrate, take your meds if you need to, take breaks, take screen breaks. They're really important. But where we're gonna end this half of the session is Dylan, you turn up, and I don't know what you're expecting. You definitely see blood on the ground. There's like shrapnel holes in like the buildings here, like bits of wood and clay and rock that have like various kind of scattered holes in them. Emiliana, you definitely recognize like the signs of a very recent firefight. Like there's still the smell of hot gunmetal in the air. You can taste it on your tongue. But Dylan, you turn up and Echo is like crouched in front of this like in front of Arcee actually, who Dylan. And like behind them, just the various like tide colors are just like passing around this cup of chai and like just like interestedly kind of drinking it and going, ooh. And then like behind them there's just like a half constructed tent. What do you say, Dylan, as you arrive?
I think Dylan like throws the door open and then you get like the really cool, very cinematic like image of backlit figure in the door, like smoke, whatever, and it's in full like all of the energy. All of them were about to go into a fight, yada yada yada, and like what happened? Are you okay? And then comes in and it's just them crouching and the tide callers sharing a cup of chai and is very confused about it, but opens the door and still is like, Echo?
They hearing that, they're kind of just surprised for a second because they didn't expect it like even more people and intensity. They're just kind of a soft smile on their face and they don't answer. They just like kind of nod to you.
I think Dylan's gonna kind of take a breath in and relax. Are you okay?
I'd say we've been better. This helps. And they kind of like lift the arm of one of the tide collars who's like sipping tea, just like, it smells really good.
Right. I'm glad you.
I've got
met
your
now.
message. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know how many. They came with. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Edenites and Aegis are here too, so I think it worked.
It worked. It definitely worked. And they kind of like gesture to Artie and just like, this is who I was referring to before.
Verity.
Like Adi, like we're about to cut to break. But I have to ask because as a GM, it's hard to like ignore like is there like a vibe with Echo and Dylan? Is this just me, Ella, imagining this, or is there like a vibe? Because it feels like there's a vibe, but I don't know if it's just me imagining this.
We said that we're going to see where it goes.
We were
So
discussing
there's a
it
vibe
just
of like
yeah.
people who've met, and there's like this established kind of like people of two worlds kind of meeting, and it could also be like just a really great bond between like a platonic bond between two people too. So, but it is for sure like a vibe where there's like a person of another world kind of like bond.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we settled on like just decidedly strong relationship, but then kind of see what direction it leans.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I mean, in that case, like Artie is a pirate queen, and she is not necessarily like working in the direction of like, like, and yeah, I really value strong platonic relationships. She's just kind of like, oh, they need to fuck. And like that's not even like necessarily the case, but that's how she works. And so she's just kind of gonna look from one of you to the other and be like, and she's gonna look at Dylan especially, who's someone she knows and actually respects, I think, Dylan. Like I think she's one of like relatively few people who really sincerely respects you and your skills. And
One
like
of
you've
you.
really earned you've earned her respect. And so she kind of gives you this like half smile, and stands very gracefully. Her like skirts kind of fall down over her legs, and there's again that kind of jingle of the bangles on her ankles. And the glass bangles on her wrists. And she's like, yeah, okay, I understand. Um,
Was that
well,
Jax? The gunfire?
oh, yeah, I mean,
Mm.
yeah, you know,
It isn't.
cowards, obviously. Um, but I'll leave you to it. And she kind of puts a hand on Dylan's shoulder and kind of squeezes it, like rubs her thumb over his shoulder. And she says, I think it might be better to hold your little conference thing here than in the bar.
Where are you going? Are you just leaving?
I am leaving you to talk to your good friend. And she just like leaves and shuts the door behind her. And as she does, she like essentially comes face to face with Emiliana. And I think Emiliana, you have also met Artie before, because she is like quite influential in this settlement. And Fib is like, like there's a kind of, as I said before, this is a like high up structure. There's a little ladder and stuff. And so I think like down at the bottom of the staircase, there's Fib with all of like their junk, and then like behind them, there's the crowd, which is all surrounding Evangeline on the giant fucking lizard. And Artie, she just kind of laughs, and then tosses her hair, looks at Emiliana, gives her a grin, and says, "Another day in paradise." And that is where we're going to cut to our break. And we will come back in to see how things resolve, how our factions talk to each other. All right, so yeah, hydrate, take your meds. We will be back in about 10 minutes. And we will be going to break anytime now. Goodbye. back, everyone. So we're in the second half of our game now, and we're going to skip forward in time a little bit. So whatever conversation happens between Dylan and Echo, I will allow Casey and Moz to decide in retrospect if they want to. But where we're going to turn up is actually at the point where all of the families have their representatives in essentially Artie's house, which she has lent them for this conversation so that they are not in a bar of brawling pirates who are all quite stressed about their existence. And you are all in this space. And I think I'd love to know kind of what each of you are doing as you get comfy in the space. I think the Edenites have like something specific that they're gonna do kind of at the start of the meeting. So maybe we'll start with Syrinx, please.
Yeah. As everyone gets into the room, and only the ones representing their faction in this conversation are present. Um, Eventually we'll put down a very large, almost like barrel like bag, shoulder bag that she was carrying with her. Um, she will put that on the table. And there are a bunch of um bottles and plant pieces sticking out of several like side pockets on the bag. Um, she opens it up and she takes out um wait, how many are there? Four. Yeah. She takes out four little things which she turns to the other faction representatives right now, and she says the Knights wanted to give a uh, gift to all of the other factions, sort of, since it has been a while since all of us got together in the same room and talked. Um, these are mushrooms, if you want to call them that, that when you pour water on top of them through the spores, it purifies the water. So, in terms of when you need it, you'll always have fresh water that is clean and healthy to drink. But also, if you're in a dire situation, you can either eat it and it gives a quick energy boost, or you can quickly put it in the ground. If you give it a few hours, it reproduces immensely. This is a gift to all of you. You may do with it as you wish. And she kind of gives this palm size, like big palm size, um fungal specimen to you all. It looks relatively like okay. There's nothing seemingly weird about it. It's like a white goldish color, and it just has a very big top where the sides of it are kind of curled up, where you can like pour water onto it and it holds like a little puddle of it. Um and she basically gives this to all of the other people in the room.
Does anyone want to react to that?
The librarian Fib definitely looks at the mushroom and like folds it carefully into a piece of cloth that they have and tuck it into their robe and says to oh, I forgot your name, Syrinx.
Evangeline, it's fine.
Evangeline, yes. I should remember that for reasons. Um, says, thank you. The librarians remember the spirit of both Cyril and Amanita. We will take this gift and make good use of it. And just tucks it away in their robes.
It's a gift as a kind of gesture for all of our survival.
I think Moz also put their hand up.
Yes. I didn't know if you had to roll for the reaction, but like I think out of everyone in the room as also fellow lovers are like big creatures, seeing the lizards and then seeing this like biology, like just they would kind of like inspect it, like the steam hearts are kind of already like kind of looking through it and like writing down notes. Naiad's probably like grabbing at it, and Echo has like this big smile on their face at this like new kind of life, and they say thank you. They this is something so special, and we've we've said stories to our children, um, of the Steam Heart and the Wayfinder. We've had tales of who they found, and to see it real in front of us, it's like seeing fairy tales come to life. Because it's a songbirds didn't know that Amanita is with them, right?
Yeah, like I don't think, I mean, Syrinx, it's up to you, like, but I think what we discussed last time was that like this isn't like something hugely publicized. It's just kind of a reality with the Eternite settlement, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
something you go out and tell people.
No.
Mm-hmm. But for the songbirds, this is like seeing, like, hearing the story of Icarus and all that, and like knowing that there is somewhere out there a maze with a minotaur kind of feeling. And so they're just like looking at this and telling the nestlings who know this like little story about Emily and Silvers from way back in the day as like this story. Um, and they like try to think of the other characters in their little myth, like little fairy tale of you just hear like the little kids like chamomile, chamomile, and then like laughing to each other. And she just very graciously like does a like a silent thank you.
I think that there was definitely a colder uh kind of disdain on Evangeline's face when she saw Echo. Um, but there's a duality in her mind of like, I know I've seen this person before. I know what they did in the moment that I saw them. Um, I definitely do not like them for that. But on the other hand, they came in with a huge, fascinating creature. And if anything, I'm not gonna let personal pities come before possible science
Mm.
and knowledge. So she kind of forces like a smile on her face back, and she's like, well, we both went for survival in different ways, but you came in with a fascinating creature. If we're done negotiating here, I would love to come with you and maybe share a few more stories.
Yes, you haven't arrived alone either. Naiad over here really wants to meet Matt one, and points to Darcy really quickly.
Yeah, like I just yes, please, ma'am, sir, your authority-ness. I
You're
don't know what the
uh
land terms of
It's all
respect
right,
are.
buddy.
Okay.
just
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 ask.
a
Just ask.
check. Even though your people have adapted, you're still made out of the same flesh as us, right?
They're kind of like bluish. They have like bluish tinge. So there's some, probably they have like bigger lungs or like
You make up
longer
whatever you
limbs.
want.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking like over time, maybe there's better swimmers and like have longer lungs for like oxygen capacity. And then like bluish tinge to their skin. Like they have like um, if it's like vitiligo, but like blue
But
all throughout their
do
body.
you think at their core, there's still like those are all like
I think
specific
so.
details, right? But at their core, do you think they're still the same?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Then then it's fine to approach it. I want to be careful when others approach them because, well, you never know when they might be hungry. But you're fine.
Oh,
Oh, that is
that's the
so
same word that we
cool.
say. Ah, right. He. We had to teach all our nestlings the same thing about Big Blue out there. Um, they all have to be covered in luminescent algae for at least 6 months without a bath, and I promise you, they smell all the time, but they have to so that they can form good relationships. Big Blue can't really see a lot of colors outside. Well, they can see a lot of colors, but not shapes. So they kind of tend to eat things that they recognize as outside their color spectrum. So I completely understand that. And
I
like,
get it.
if Naiad's like coming like jumping up to kind of go. They're just like like sit down later.
Angela, you were holding up a hand.
Well, quick question. Maz, you had mentioned earlier that being on the land is a bit more difficult for a lot of the songbirds, correct?
Mhm.
Is there physical aspects to how Echo would be moving that would indicate like that difficulty with being on the land?
Yeah, so for the younger kids, they're a little bit more agile, but they have like these what looks be like uh it's like ski poles kind of thing to help them walk. And then but because Echo is a bit, you know, larger, older, they're kind of seated most of the time. So the steam hearts have been either helping them or they've been seated as much as possible from like place to place.
Okay. I think in that case, while the two of you are having that conversation, Emiliana has set the gift down and like understands that it's a nice moment that two nerds are chatting about their respective special interest. But and I will call it that because it's basically what it sounds like to me.
It's basically our friendship too.
Oh my god, you like Game of Thrones?
Oh my god.
Hey, you like raising kaiju? Yeah, I love raising kaiju. But I think she passes over to Echo her own cane, uh, in case they would like to walk around. Like she notes it very quick, like interrupts, not necessarily trying to be rude, but just to sort of make a point that it's like you should have, if you would like to, you should have the means to have more movement without as much strain. So she gives that up, and then she kind of, not trying to be too curt, but also she's not very sociable. She's like, I understand that this is a positive thing overall for all of us to be meeting, but I do feel as though we should get to it.
Yeah, so and I think like with that, so there's two things I want to do. First of all, I want you all to give me a role. I'm going to tell you what that role is in a second. And then second, I think when we get to actually beginning the meeting, there are two things to this because we are essentially somehow we've ended up role-playing politics. But since that is what we're doing, I'm very much in my Star Trek brain. But like the Aryan will have been declared as like the people who to essentially chair this conversation because you're not invested in like getting resources from anyone, so you're here to chair the conversation, and the librarians will minute the conversation because obviously the librarians will minute the conversation, and so the librarians will decide like what is remembered from this conversation. And so like Fib and Dylan like have specific roles in this meeting, and then everyone else, like obviously Emiliana is here largely to supervise proceedings, although she can contribute if she would like to. And a lot of the conversation is going to be around like Fib, Echo, and Evangeline exchanging knowledge, whilst like Dylan like facilitates the conversation and kind of watches proceedings. The role that I would like you all to do, please, is conduct diplomacy. There is a role for this. It's a family move. So you're gonna roll plus reach with your family's reach stat. 2d6 like normal. And I want each of you to tell me what you get. Ooh, there's a lot of people pulling faces.
That's a
got a
7.
I have a 13.
Jesus.
Ooh, okay. So
That's badass.
13 for Syrinx, 7 for Aaliyah. Moz, you got a 5. Whew. Um Casey and Angela.
Trying to find out how to calculate reach.
It would be in your family stats. It would be one of your 3 starting stats of reach, grasp, and sleight
Oh,
that you
thank you,
chose when
thank you,
making
thank you.
them.
Yes, got it.
It would
Thank
be
you.
your first one.
Got it. Okay. Sorry.
Angela, did you
That would
already
be an
do your
8. I
Cool,
was gonna
okay.
let Casey have their, but if they're still having to roll, then 8.
Cool. All right.
I also have an 8.
Motherfucker, I clicked mute. I'm a sleepy lady. Okay, interesting though. So that's mixed successes and a failure for everyone except the Edenites who got a total success. There are specific rules for how this normally works. Normally, you roll conduct diplomacy when we're zoomed out in the story, and it's more about like moving your families kind of around the map. But because we're kind of doing a foreshortened version of this game for this campaign, I'm just tailoring the rules a little bit. Forgive me, Mina. I love your game. I think it's really cool. Okay. Normally, like on a hit, you get what you wanted and 1 data. On a 7 to 9, your agents had to get help from a third party. Say which of your allies helped them seal the deal and give them 1 treaty. So what I'm going to say is everyone who got a 7 or higher, you get 1 data. Add that to your family's resources. Syrinx, you get 2 data for your family's resources because you got a big old fucking success. And you also, Syrinx, will get a surplus of your choosing after this that you can add to your family's resources. And then the only person who failed is the songbirds. Actually, like Moz, you're gonna need to add a need to this afterwards for your family to that's so much data, Syrinx.
Question. Moz,
Yes.
how much did you fail by?
2.
Did you you fail by 2? Are we
Okay,
able
yeah.
to spend treaty points to help with things like that?
You are, and you know what? Normally it would be you can only spend 1 because normally this is a pretty harsh system because it's a whole fucking apocalypse. However, again, we're playing a little fast and loose with the rules, and if you want to spend 2 of your treaty points, what I will say is the reflection of this mechanical decision for you, Casey, if you have 2 treaty points to spend, will be you can bump the songbirds up to a success, which I'm going to be real, yeah, the failure would be bad for them. However, it really damages the Aryan's relationship with the songbirds. You lose that treaty with them. So like you can help the songbirds specifically, but what it means is you will essentially spend what favor the Aryan have with the songbirds in this age in order to like help them. So it's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So for if the songbirds do fail, you will take 2 additional needs for your family, which will push you into family move, which will deal with next session, but it's basically a response to injury move, where you will need to hold together. And basically it's going to mean that like the songbirds go through a really hard period because people don't trust them, they don't have the supplies they need. It makes a hit to morale, and it means that they have some issues with infrastructure because this meeting goes badly for them in whatever way we decide. For everyone else, this meeting goes well, and for the Edenites in particular, this meeting goes extremely well. You are going to come out of this with lots more resources and a lot of political influence. The reason I wanted to do this role now is that unusually this role is going to influence your role playing, because like the scene that I now want to see is like how we get to the point where the Edenites like come out real successful, everyone else broadly has what they want, and the songbirds, Moz, you gotta fuck it up. You gotta fuck it up real bad. And we gotta see how you fuck it up. I will remind you that we can take big swings because at the end of this, we're gonna skip forward in time. We are possibly gonna skip forward in time by like 2 centuries, and we're gonna roll to see what happens to our factions in that time. So these characters, this is the last time we're gonna see them in this scene. And so, you know, make big moves. Is that all clear to everyone? Does everyone have any questions for me?
Moz, do you want me to spend? I'm cool with
It's
doing
up
it,
to
but it
you.
seems like it's a big impact on you. So if you think it's more fun to play whichever thing, I'm okay with it either way.
I have one question. If I have to find needs that I have to pick out of, is it in the book?
Yes. So what I will do is I will probably send them to you after this session because for those eagle-eyed viewers at home, I don't currently have my hard copy of the book with me. But I think broadly speaking, the needs would be supplies, morale, and then I can't remember if connections is like a specific, but basically like your relationship with the other factions. Like essentially what would happen is that like the songbirds would be in a bit of a siege state where like over time like your isolationism harms you quite badly and means that you like lose a lot of supplies, you really lose your relationships with people on the shore, and that means that like yeah, you just reduce in supplies as you spend them.
And then
So
if they use their treaty, can they never get it back again with because this will kind of go through their ages, right?
you
Because
can
this is the
absolutely,
treaties.
oh sorry.
These are treaties that connect the factions.
Yeah. So what I will say is you can get your treaties back. There are ways to get treaties back with people. There are a bunch of roles to get treaties back, but also as your GM, I'm just gonna straight up tell you that like different kinds of role playing mean I will give you treaties back. And like what I see this as is like Echo in particular, as we've already discussed, is a little bit atypical for the songbirds. And I think that like if Dylan chooses to help them, it's like helpful for you as individuals in this moment, but the wider political implications have like kind of a domino effect that like results in essentially a bit of a backlash. Where it's, you know, it's a bit of a thing of like, and this is why we shouldn't like do this because, you know, all these complicated things happen. But you would not permanent, like you would be able to recover Tracy in future, and when we turn the ages, we will also be able to recover Tracy.
Okay. Um, I I just want to know how to play that, like how it would work. But I'm fine with either, Casey. It's totally up to you.
I don't want
I
to make
don't
that
feel
big of a
bad.
call for your faction
I mean,
without.
what,
No,
like,
no, no.
how
Listen,
about
the age is ending, so don't worry about like a big of call. Either way, I'm happy for it because one, they're also kind of going from like uh technomancy kind of council world to like kind of opening up. So maybe a siege and like resources and things like that is what they need to kind of push it. So if you don't choose that, fine. If it does harm our relationships, like it's totally fine. Don't stress at all. Don't worry at all. I'm here with you. No
Okay, we're
worries
chilling.
at
We're
all.
chilling.
what?
Oh,
Yeah.
I.
What?
Ooh.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I think I'll spend it because I have an idea of how to do it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Very excited for that.
Okay. Is that cool?
Okay.
100% cool, Moz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm so nervous about this meeting. I feel like I'm in a Star Trek episode where like it's gonna be like you know, we're gonna like this is the fucking like Romulans and Klingons and I don't know what the result is gonna be, but here we go. All right. I'm gonna hand over control to you all. Let's get this meeting in order. Dylan, kick it off.
Okay. I think Dylan has realized how deeply anxious he is about this entire thing over like everybody got there and it was like being hit with a brick wall of oh my god, everything kind of hinges on this. So I think if anyone's looking at him, there's a lot of physicalized signs of the amount of pressure he is like fully realizing in this moment on or just like the weight of what he has to do and what is actually happening right now kind of hits him all in one go. And so I think he takes the gift very graciously and whispers thank you under his breath, but he is 100% in his own head. And I think as soon as Emiliana is like, okay, we need to get started, Dylan takes a breath in and puts his hand on the table and goes, my brother is Lucas Powell, the one who is responsible for the loss of knowledge that we are all currently undergoing. And specifically, he had the ability to do that because I failed to stop him, because I trusted him and he is my brother and I let him go. And I'm telling you this because I think there is no way you are going to trust me with that piece of information undisclosed, and because it gives you everything you need to completely destroy my faction should you so desire. There are 7 of us, and that is earth-shattering piece of information against us. And I'm offering it to you with the hopes that you are able to take it and move forward with me, whatever path that may be and whatever that may look like, because I want to trust that it is possible for us to have a open and trusting relationship going forward. We can't survive without you. We know that.
I mean, sure, your brother made survival a lot more difficult, and your faction kind of screwed up. But you're not your brother, so why would we care?
Some people care.
I understand.
Echoes, if they were seated next to each other and maybe their hands are near each other, Echo has pulled their hand back and they're kind of like revisiting the hours and hours and hours they spent trapped in that bunker the first time they met Dylan and all they talked about and how they first connected. And not one word of Lucas was shared. Not one word was shared. Everything was on the table. And even though this is a way that Dylan was helping through the treaties, they kind of feel this like anger well up in their face. Lots of things were lost.
I know.
So much was lost. And is this why we are here? To fix your brother's mistakes? Or do you have mistakes that we need to now fix?
His is mine.
Wait, so you have more problems we need to fix? I am not following.
No, I just.
It's just Echo saying things, and like people fight, they like bring up, oh, remember the time that you didn't wash the dishes? Like
I did wash the dishes. It made me late.
Maybe you'll just break all of society like your brother did. At this, the Fib does stand up and kind of addresses the entire crowd. The librarians have known about this for a while. You all know that it was our leader, Sacrum, that got kidnapped by Lucas when the Great Network went down. We've been hurt more than anyone, and we knew that it was both the Aryan and that Dylan has broken off. We know that Lucas is still out there somewhere. We've looked for him. But instead of retribution, the librarians have stepped forward to rebuild, to reconnect and do things. That's why we're here. We have a need as well. We know we have searched and found ways to rebuild a great network, but we do not have the engineers or the artisans in order to proceed on such a project. In addition to, and at this point, Fib just kind of steps or sits, it gets solemn and soaks in. I personally think there's something wrong with the library. Something is done, and my people are getting sick, and I need, and this is a specific looks at Evangeline. Can we ask for the Edenists' help to look at our people and help us fix whatever is going wrong in our minds, whatever is happening to our people? And I, as an ambassador, can say, we are here to help, and we are here to build a thing. But we need people to help us first. Otherwise, all the knowledge of the prior world may be lost. I'm gonna just sit down, let that hang in the air.
Perhaps we Edenites don't put as much weight on knowledge of the past as we do of knowledge of the present and the future. Uh, doesn't mean that it's not useful. Doesn't mean that the librarians haven't been useful at all. Knowledge is what strives us forward, and we all get it from different sources, it seems. Um, if your people are getting sick, and if it's in any form or capacity that we are known to, um, surely I don't see a problem in helping you. After all, we don't want lives in danger. And if this sickness spreads, then it seems like the lives of your whole library might be in danger. That's not something we would want. Um, so I mean, yes, I'm sure that my faction would want to look at your people and see if we can figure out the source of this. Um, talking about sickness, I want to add an additional thing on the table here. As the librarians seem to be having a sickness that is brewing within them, I have reasons to suspect that the same might be happening in the ecosystem around us. And as the Edenites have been known for wanting to understand and adapt to the ecosystem around us, we, in this meeting, would also like to put up on the table that we would ask in all factions to help us in preventing another big change in the ecosystem before it happens and we're lost to it. Specifically, what I'm asking is, in all of your own capacities, we would like to be able to spread some of our faction widely to research specimens of your areas, specimens where we do not normally travel. We'd simply like to find this sickness, if you want to call it that, and make sure that it doesn't harm the ecosystem any further. But that is additional to what the librarians are putting on the table here. I'm just telling our stake in all of this.
The sickness that you describe, what sorts of effects does it have? I'm assuming you've seen it yourselves, yes?
Yes. However, we are not certain at this moment that it can, or it has harvested itself into humans, so to speak. We're looking at the ecosystem around us, animals and or nature included. And as far as symptoms go, there aren't any visible. That's why one of us has to go and investigate.
We have cyanotypes and much photography from all over the continent. You're welcome to look at whatever you'd like, and I'm sure we could assist with transportation.
Photography is less useful to us, but going with you to places we have not been before is very helpful indeed.
We have well-charted maps as well, most of the continent.
Ah, excellent.
So I'm curious in regards to all of this. I think Emiliana has been staying quiet while Echo has had their upset moment, while Dylan is trying to be noble, while Fib is trying to be a benevolent scholar, and Evangeline Emiliana just respects and thinks it's chill. I found in a lot of the time that I have lived in this world that if you're going to get something out of an arrangement, that we have to act in good faith. Coming into an arrangement with bad faith is the first way to ruin, well, really any good you established early on. I find it intriguing that the librarians knew about the situation with Lucas, and yet you chose not to bring goodwill to the table by letting the rest of us know. Particularly considering that the Aegis have taken time to ensure your survival, I think it terrible repayment that you deprive us of information and yet are hoping for something in return. I would prefer to consider that a call of debt than a call of asking for assistance. No, you owe us more for your inaction than anything else.
The librarians will not be a party to sending someone, our fighters, against anyone else. We can clean our own battles. And to that, we would simply say,
this is not a negotiation about whether or not you owe us. This is a matter of you owe us. And you have already come to the table with a lack of consideration for other people's needs. That is the end of discussion on that matter. Dylan, I understand that the situation is difficult and you are in a rather tight situation when it comes to gaining additional aid and support. We are interested in giving you support as we know what it means to be living very precarious lives. However, given that this information was not brought up until now, again, I do feel a debt must be called in. And
Understand.
and for all of the anger and distrust that you might have, Echo, towards Darian for their actions and not being upfront with you, I do not think the fact that you have been separated from all of us should go unnoticed or uncommented on. That in and of itself shows a lack of trust, which I understand. We are very used to having a lack of trust in other people. However, I don't feel that anyone should be getting on any sort of soapbox here in regards to having clean hands, except perhaps the Edenites. We have a history amongst our groups, between our groups, that I feel it is appropriate to honor. And if there is anything that the Aegis can do to lend our support to you in dealing with the sickness and any more hostile repercussions of it, we would be more than willing. Or rather, I would vouch for us in saying firmly that you have our support. And I do not wish to come at all of this with any sort of hostility or anger, but instead simply be clear in the terms of the situation. And as far as the Aegis are concerned, many of you owe us a debt for what we have given to you in blood and life and in people, even when some of you have hidden knowledge, some of you have raised someone who has ruined many of our lives, and some of you have completely cut yourselves off from us. The only group so far that has been kind to us, at least by choosing not to be harmful, are the Edenites. And thus, I would put forward that they should have more say in the division of resources and such that happen between our factions going forward. That is my position. You're welcome to contest it or not, but I think it's fair to say, if I can be blunt, I believe I have more sway and the Aegis have more say in terms of debts to call in than the rest of you do.
say we've got 4 minutes left on the clock. I feel so tense. You've all done a great job at doing politics. I want to give Moz Echo a chance to resolve like just the emotional beat here. That is that like the songbirds have one element, but then also Echo has a personal element too. And so what I'm gonna say is we might run 5 minutes over. Hopefully it will not be more than that. But I mean it will not be more than that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the age. And so what I want everyone to do is roll me 2d6. And roll plus your mood. Now your mood is calculated by your surplus minus your needs for your family. And Moz, whatever is necessary to take you down to a -1, that's what you're on. You're on a -1 mood. Your family specifically has fallen into crisis. And when that move is triggered, you end up with one of a list of things. And I think the one that you've mentioned that I think makes the most sense is your family retreats into
Are
solitude.
they're in
Also,
crisis even with the 2 treaties?
Oh, I spent the treaty.
I think so I can be convinced otherwise because I adore my players and I think you're all amazing. I don't think that my read on the way that that scene played was that that was an effective use of the treaty to make the songbirds more liked by the other factions and to make the songbirds trust the other factions more. So I think like we can the most punishing version of this is Casey spends the treaty, loses the treaty, and you still fail. I think that the fairer version of this is that I think Casey, what I read that roleplay as was an attempt to spend the treaty to like make this happen with this big gesture of trust. That was rejected because the way we roleplayed this scene, unless we roleplay it otherwise, unless there's a different resolution Moz that you have in mind, which is why I want to come back to you. But I think unless there's a way that you can convince me through roleplay and storytelling, that the songbirds come out of this trusting the other factions more, the way that that scene read to me was not good for the songbirds. So we will come back to you. For everyone else, please roll your turning of the age roll. So that's your 2d6 plus your mood. Moz, hold off on doing your roll until this next scene so that you can decide which way you want to go in.
Yeah,
is that okay with you?
Yeah, I had a response to Emiliana, so I was just waiting for that.
I
All right,
I
awesome.
will ask if everyone's okay with going a few minutes over. Maybe we can quickly get into the scene, have Moss have a chance to react to the scene, and then we can close that off. Because I was like, also thinking like just to close it off, I have like a sentence.
Okay, cool.
If
Yeah.
everyone's cool with that.
Let's let's
I
do
have
that.
a
And then what we'll
very
do is
small thing too, if that's okay. I can
we
20 seconds.
you know, for everyone watching, we all like playing with each other and this game. It's a really great game. The problem is that it is like many great games where you just want to keep playing. But yes, absolutely. So here's what's gonna happen. We roll the turning of the age. I want to find out kind of the outcome of those rolls. But then the admin of those
Yep.
rolls, which is that you pick from a list what like basically happens to your faction in the meantime. We will all decide between this week and next week, and we will open next week's episode with like telling you all the viewers like what happened to each of our factions in the like 100-200 years after this, like who rolled like more trials, like who rolled successes, like what happened. But for now, I just want us to kind of tease on like whether we had successful rolls or unsuccessful rolls so we can kind of have an idea of where our factions are heading at the end of this age. But first of all, yes, Moz, please respond.
I get back to what I said. Echo, like this would have been said right as soon as Emiliana has finished, and Echo would have put up the cane in between them and said, as they're like kind of pulling themselves up, you carry one of us with you. We know what that stands for. And we know what you stand for. The pain that was caused here was the same debt you feel with Fib with the librarians. That is something I feel a debt with Dylan. And like they're gonna like the steam hearts behind them kind of respond in that same way of like they just, you know, maybe Naiad's face is like kind of that loss of the network. But the songbirds didn't. Their first choice was to run and hide. But that is not the choice that we are making here. Not by stepping in here and sitting with you all. It's not something that took a moment's notice. It took weeks of convincing, agreements, council meetings, and parents, his parents, who agreed to let him walk on this land. We are here to be part of this. I'm sorry if you thought we abandoned, or at least our 4 guardians have abandoned this world up here. But the choice we made to travel, the distance it took, we are here to sit at this very table. If it is research you need, eventually. So you've survived from what I remember. I regret not helping you at that moment, but maybe I can connect you with the right people to, if you're okay with going underwater, to travel with us and to learn from our own medicinal advances that may use unknown life, if that is of interest. They have a kind of a cold face to Dylan, but it's more of kind of like just that sharp, like, you didn't tell me. And now I'm here and I'm embarrassed and I have to, and the steam hearts feel it. So maybe that treaty being used is that hurt between the Arian and the songbirds. But the songbirds, like the steam hearts kind of uh do their little like formation, and then like Naiad, uh when he comes in front, she will say, we tell our children one thing from the story of the steam heart and the wayfinder. The steam heart had other adventurers with them, and I believe they were your 4 guardians as well. From the steam heart, we learn to endure and protect. And they look at Naiad to repeat the rest, and they kind of mouth the stuff and they say, like, from the Wayfinder, the one who was known as Emily, we learn to trust and care. Together we are strong. And they put down the cane next to Emiliana's hand, and they get like a steam heart's arm and like pretty much like clasp hands with the steam heart, and the steam heart extends his like big diving suit hand to Emiliana.
The debt will be paid. One way or another.
The debt will be paid. One way or another.
Syrinx, I think you had one additional comment you wanted to make.
If everyone else is done, though, I'm not gonna interrupt. Then I think noticing kind of that everyone has like said their say, and there comes a quiet over the entire table. Evangeline will take a moment because all of these emotions are kind of like above her. She's like basically thinking, guys, we're talking about the survival of humanity. Keep your emotions for afterwards. She tries not to show it, and she just puts her hands on a table and says, and kind of stands and says, then I'm glad we all know that we're doing this for not just our survival, but more importantly, the survival of the generations afterwards. After all, we are the ones who need to protect them before they're even here. Let's do our best at it.
I love that. Okay. Yeah, Casey.
Under a minute of tiny
You did
little
say
things.
you had a tiny little thing. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. After, I think Dylan will just nod and take that as the meeting's ending. Before everything ends, we'll go up to Fib very quickly and just say, thank you for not sharing. And is going to press a scroll into your hand that is a drawn out blueprint for a very accurate clock that he has been working on for quite a bit of time. When Naiad leaves, if she checks her pocket at any point, there is another photograph of a waterfall. And when I think after like everybody disbands and Dylan's, packing up his stuff and getting ready to go, I think he goes outside and thinks about calling after Echo, and instead, in Aryan fashion, is going to take out his violin and just play for a little bit. And I think at some point, part of the tune, both the Aryan and the songbirds whistle, and the little forms of whistle communications, and so layered into the whistle, or layered into the violin, I think as Echo leaves, they can hear just a little bit of the types of whistles that the songbirds use and the Aryans use as they go back into the ocean.
Echo's going to hear that, just step into the water and take out a water bottle or a bottle that they had at the meeting and empty it out, roll something in paper, cork it, and leave it at the beach.
Oh, fuck me. And with that, the age turns. And yes, Moz, you do not have to suffer the consequences of your 5 failure. Those 2 treaty
I'm already suffering.
that yeah, you know what, we're all suffering. But I would like you to please roll me for the turning of the age, so roll plus your mood. Everyone else who's already rolled, tell me what you got. Did you fail, mixed success, or complete success? What numbers
9.
did you get? 9, okay.
An 8, mixed success.
Yep.
8.
Angela?
Oh, I'm gonna go with 9 because there is something that might it won't mechanically affect things, but just so folks are aware, I cashed in 3 treaties on different people because I didn't get to use my 3 treaty points during our second session, so I consider that RP. I'm cashing in on everything, motherfuckers. You're
No,
mine.
I love it. You kept being like, I'm calling it a debt. I love that. Nice synergy of
Mm.
roleplay and mechanics. Casey, what did you get?
I failed.
What did you roll?
I got a 5.
Ooh, okay, great.
Oh,
And Mars,
actually,
what
it
did
might be lower than a 5 because it's a. Oh no, we're good. It's a 5. I subtracted the mood. We're good.
and Mars, what did you get?
I got an 8.
Okay, so everyone got a mixed success, and we'll pick 1 trial and 1 fortune, except for the Aryan, who once again take 2 trials. So we will see. I think what Dylan did was probably the right thing and a very brave thing, but unfortunately, it will have political consequences for the Aryan over the next age. You can find out what happens in the next stage next week because we are absolutely wrapping our session because we are 11 minutes over already. So thank you so much for watching. We hope you had fun. I'm Ella Watts. My pronouns are she, her. I've been your GM today. I would like all of my lovely players, please, to tell us who you are, and where we can find your wonderful stuff on the internet and other places, but primarily the internet. Starting with Moz.
Oh, hi. You can find me on the internet, Mozzarella on Twitch. I'm in the chat with the three L's, but it's Mozzarella everywhere else, as well as Starcrawl RPG. So, check us out. We're doing Blades in the Dark next, and that's it, right? Did I miss anything?
No, you did it. You're perfect. They rule. Check out their stuff. Okay, Casey.
Hi, my name's Casey. You can find me on the internet at the Casey Fleming on various platforms. Yup.
Angela.
Hello there, my lovely beans. Well, welcome to another session of Ella has managed to create a gay fanfic opportunity without even trying. She just established this for her players. Happy Pride Month, everybody. My name is Angela Lemos Mogrovejo. I use she, they pronouns. You can catch me over on Start Playing Games, where for the entire month of June, I have ongoing one-shots for Demigods, Slayers, and Monster Hearts 2, which involve going to go save a chromomancer, pardon, uh, going to put a god of death to rest, or a god of dreams to rest, pardon, and also going out to an abandoned castle and maybe losing yourself to your darkest self at will, but also smooch, maybe? That's all. That's all for me.
Maybe. You know, always remember the greatest magic of all, chronomancy. Okay.
Chromomancer!
Syrinx.
Hi, I'm Syrinx, she, her. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as such. And I'm only gonna leave it at that. Go.
Okay, Aaliyah.
Goodbye, all. I'm Aaliyah. You can find me Aaliyah the Sorceress or the Sorceress Aaliyah pretty much anywhere online. I'm playing this for now. I have some few things in the pipe, but I'll wait until I get confirmation before I tell you. Thank you so much. Good night.
Right. Quick little announcements, but I'm gonna be so quick. So you're all just gonna have to get your like advertising voice like ears on, where like here's the terms and conditions. Blah, 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 blah. The Creator app is always open. If you have a story you'd like to tell, we want to help you get it off the ground. Find out more on our website, girlsruntheseworlds.com. On Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern, we've got season 2 of Fate. Auriga Stars join our cast for their finale as they return to the high fantasy world of Auriga with Disaster Master Ultra Mirage. On Wednesdays, we have our bi-weekly at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, long-running anchor show for this sapphic homebrew world of Amalgath with GRTW founder Ryu as the dungeon mixtress of Roll for Luck Sparks. On Thursdays, obviously, we've got Rust, and keep an eye out on our socials for the rest of June for our Juneteenth and Pride games. Those games will be announced very soon, and they're gonna fucking rule. My name's Ella Watts. You can find me on the internet at GEJ Watts. I'm gonna say goodnight. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you had fun. Goodbye!